Hi, first graders. Today we are going to be reading a story called Martin Luther King Jr. Now, this text is nonfiction or expository text. That means we will be learning. It's true information. So we will be reading a little bit slower because that means the information given has to be thought about. It's not reading just for entertainment or enjoyment. So we read a little bit slower and we really think about the information we are learning. A good thing to do before you start reading a nonfiction text is ask yourself, what do I know about this subject? What do I already know about Martin Luther King Jr.? Have you heard of his name before? Have you seen him? What do you know about him? Okay, let's go start learning now. My story. I was born in Atlanta. It was 1929. My family was black. Blacks had to follow unfair rules. I could not play with white children. What does that mean for the rules to be unfair? Think about that. If you were a child and you had to follow unfair rules at school or where you lived, and you weren't allowed to play with white children, that is what it was like for Martin when he was growing up. Where and when were you born? Was it like that when you were born? It was not like that by the time I was born. I was born shortly after Martin was shot, 1 month later, and things already had started to change because of him. Hopefully, things have changed a lot by now. Here's what Martin says. I was smart. I was a good speaker. I went to college. I became a pastor. What is a pastor? What does that mean? Have you seen people who go to church, or do you go to church? The person who speaks at the church sometimes is called a pastor or a priest. And so he went to college because he was very smart and he was a good speaker. He decided he should become a pastor. Let's learn some more about Martin Luther King Jr. I met Coretta Scott. I married her. We had 4 children. And there he is, Martin Luther King Jr. with his wife, Coretta Scott. 4 children, that's a lot. Whites and blacks still lived apart. We ate in different restaurants. Could you imagine you weren't allowed to eat in the same restaurants as each other? You had to have separate restaurants. We sat apart on buses. Blacks were unhappy. Would you be unhappy if you weren't allowed to sit and eat where other people were allowed because of the color of your skin? I think I would be too. I wonder how you would feel. I wanted to change things. Hey, it sounds like Martin Luther King Jr. is a leader. I liked Gandhi's ideas. He taught people to be non-violent. Non-violent. Well, I know violent is violence, right? Where you hurt something, you're physical with it. So non means not. So he taught people, this Gandhi, to not be violent. And he inspired Martin Luther King Jr. Who inspires you? Is there someone who makes you think about being a better person? I'd love to know. I marched for my beliefs. I dreamed of freedom. I wanted to make America better. I wanted blacks and whites to be treated equally. And here we see Martin Luther King Jr. using habit number 8, marching and speaking for his beliefs. Find your voice. Great job, leader. Some people agreed with me. They wrote laws that everyone must be treated the same. I was celebrated for my work. How do you feel about that? Do you like the new laws that he helped? That everyone must be treated the same? Does that sound more fair to you? Remember, good readers stop and think, especially when it's nonfiction text. Think about these changes that came because of Martin Luther King Jr.'s work. That's part of our leadership and being reflective. Look at him. He's holding a prize, the Nobel Peace Prize. But my work was not done. I had more dreams. I wanted world peace. I wanted to help the poor. And you can see here, this is what it would look like for a hotel if you were Black. It wasn't very nice. They made things separate, but they did not make them fair. It would look much nicer for white people, and then Black people, they were not giving them equal treatment or services. Their places were not as nice for them to be at. Martin wanted to extend this work out to the world. He wanted the world to have peace. He wanted to help people that were poor and did not have much. Before I could finish my work, James Earl Ray killed me. I was an important man. I fought for equality and justice. What would you like to ask me? If Martin Luther King Jr. was still alive right now, what question would you ask him? What question would you have? Here is a timeline of Martin Luther King Jr.'s life. You can see here's 1900, but he wasn't born yet, not until 1929. Here you can see in 1963 him fighting for people's rights. And in 1964, laws were changed due to the hard work him and many others who synergized with him did to get equality, better equality and treatment for all. And look, just 4 years later, he was killed and died in 1968, the very year I was born, 1 month before I was born. Interesting, right? How short his life was, but he was able to make such important changes using leadership. And here's some of the important words that they would want you to know. The first one here is equality. That is the right of everyone to be treated the same, without special advantages. Here's my question to you. Why do you think it's important to have equality? Let's get out our Read and Respond notebook now to answer that question. I'll get mine. You get yours. Remember to pause the video if you need more time. Here's mine. Mine is pink. Yours can be any color, as long as it has the metal binding. Go to your next open page. I remember I wrote about how important it is to welcome everybody, regardless of who they are last time. This time we're going to talk about why equality is important. Why is it important to have equality or equal treatment for everybody? Let's write about it. Equality is a big word. I can hear the beginning sound though. Equality. So capital. Qua. Do you remember? That's the Q sound. Qua. And after Q is always a U. Equa. All. Equal. E-Q-U-A-L. Look at that. It has the word equal right in it. Equality. T. Equality. E-Q-U-A-L-I-T-Y. And let's underline that. Equality is I-S, we leave a space, is important. 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 Hey, that's a sight word. Important because Now you have to tell me, why do you think equality is important? Why is it important to treat people fairly? What happens if we don't? Will we have a lot of win-win situations? Why is it so important to people to be treated fairly. You tell me what your thoughts are on it. I can't wait to hear why you think equality is important. And then draw a picture of what equality means to you, of course, and color it in to share tomorrow. I can't wait to hear your answers. Make sure you pause and reflect first. That's always important. Bye, leaders.